Welcome, my brilliant providers. My goal is to make your work as delightful as possible to help you go from bored and burned out to truly doing what you love. I was a sick youngster in the doctor's offices all the time, working with a frustrated, burnt out, disassociated, going through the motions, physicians and providers. That sucked. I had really terrible healthcare experiences time after time after time. What I realized during 20 years of working in the healthcare industry was that it was often the providers that cared the most, that were the most frustrated, were the most defeated, and were the most disassociated. We know it's going to take more than a spa day or a nap to eliminate burnout for you. So, here are 8 things that you need to know to break the burnout cycle. I know there's many burnout cycles. I'm going to talk about mine and eliminate burnout in your experience. The first NIH website defines burnout as prolonged exposure to chronic interpersonal stressors. Mhm. Stating that is multi-billion dollar impact to the industry. However, I would argue that it also makes you more manipulatable. So they talk about wanting to eliminate it and they talk about this being a problem, but they're perfectly content talking about spa days and naps because they don't really want you to completely get rid of it, right? They say that at least half of providers, I would argue more than that, are experiencing at least one of the symptoms of burnout, being overwhelming exhaustion, cynicism and detachment, and feeling ineffective or lacking accomplishment. Yes, maybe. But what I see in healthcare is that burnout is having to not care about things that you deeply, deeply do. The burnout cycle that I teach, that we work with, that it starts with dismay at how frustrated you are, how easy it would be to care about the things you care about, how much you do care about your patients and want to be a resource to them, about how much work you went through to gain the knowledge and the wisdom that you have. Dismay at how bad the system really has gotten to me and how terrible leadership can be, about how frustrating so many of the things working in the system are. Dismay is the first feeling sense that we notice, that we talk about, that we acknowledge in burnout. The next is defiance. If you're a little bit like me, you get a little bit rebellious and you're going to show them. You're ready. We're going to take the actions. We're going to show them how it can be. They'll see. Help me help you. Right. And then you're doing that and it's working, but then somebody gets their toes stepped on. And then somebody gets to feeling insecure because you're actually a better leader than they are. And then you get pulled into an administrator's office and told you're insubordinate and told you need to settle down and you need to just follow the rules. And yeah, been there. And then there's this sense of defeated, right? You were going to show them. You were going to change healthcare, at least your patients, at least your practice. You were willing to do the work. You were willing to show up. And then you're just feeling defeated. And you go through this cycle and you go through this cycle and you go through this cycle until you're nauseous before every shift, until you come home crying from most of your shifts. And eventually you decide you're not going to keep putting yourself through that. So you disassociate. You just are going through the motions, you're going to work, it's your job, and you're just going to go to your job and you're going to just do your job. And then something happens and you can't believe how bad it is. And you're going to show them and you're going to fix it. And then somebody gets in their feels and tells you to simmer down. And then you disassociate. So, again, my definition of burnout is having to not care about things that you deeply, deeply do. On my website, leadersin.healthcare, you're going to go to the spiral page. That's the education page. Part of the way down, you're going to see the spiral framework. Okay. And you're going to utilize this framework for this next question. Okay. The framework is awareness. You're going to notice the things around you, non judgmental awareness. You're just information gathering. You're going to acknowledge what you've gathered. Oh, yes, I am actually noticing that. Yes, I am actually seeing that pattern. Yes, this is actually happening. I'm not just kind of seeing it one day, getting curious about it. I wonder why. I wonder why not, how, who said. Then how do you want it to feel? Okay, how do you want it to feel? What could that actually look like? What do you need to release to bring that into being? Choosing, yes, this is actually what I desire. Not just like oh, that sounds nice, but like no matter what, this is what I choose. These are the standards I'm going to hold. These are the resources that I'm going to bring in. Yes, I've got my back. I choose this. Okay. And then taking the actions to bring that into being. So when you consider that framework, I want you to bring that awareness and that acknowledgement and that curiosity to what is it that you are having to not care about? Because there's a lot of surface things, right? But when you get to the core of the thing, when you get to the root of the thing, what is it that you're having to not care about that you deeply, deeply do? Then the fourth thing you need to know is how much impact and influence you have in your world. So I know you're feeling stuck and I know you're feeling like you can't do anything about this. And I know you're feeling defeated and you've had to disassociate to protect yourself. And it just kind of feels like there's nothing you can do, but there is. There is. You have so much power. There are so many options and opportunities and possibilities and ways of weaving that you haven't allowed yourself to see yet. This is some of what I help you do is open up your imagination and your awareness to these possibilities. Okay? But I want you to know that you bring your patience in, you bring your way of practicing in, you provide for and protect the place for you to authentically show up and be the provider that you want to be. Okay. That might be in the corporate system you're in now. There might be some mindset changes or some different things that we can do. This might mean starting your own practice. It might mean shifting up your practice. This could mean a lot of different things for you, but you provide for and protect the place for your values, your dreams and desires, and your full expression, which is how you speak, what you wear, and how you want to practice. Okay. I need you to know that you are responsible for your well being and that your patient and your staff members and your administrators, they are responsible for theirs. You are not responsible for their well being. You are a resource on your patient's healthcare journey. They are individual, empowered humans with fears and challenges and abilities and talents and goals and dreams of their own, and they are coming to you as a resource. So, those are some of the core concepts that we talk about in pre leadership. Again, on that spiral page, there's more information there. Okay. more of what we talk about systems and structures supporting you and ways of providing for and protecting that space and how you do that. Okay. And getting unstuck. So more of that's there. Number 6 on the 8 things you need to know to break the burnout cycle and eliminate burnout is, what does your dream practice feel like? Okay. And I have visualization practices and I have a lot of the personal reflection questions. Again, on that spiral, I am launching the Brilliant New Age program to help with exactly this. That is also available on that spiral page. Okay. What does your dream practice feel like? You need to know that. You need to know how you desire it to feel. And that's incorporating this thing that you deeply, deeply care about. So we did, what do you deeply care about? But also, you're going to incorporate that then into how you want your dream practice to feel. And then you can start clarifying what you want it to look like. We are still in that framework. Okay. Then, what is the smallest step that you can take toward that? What seed can you plant? What email can you send? What conversation can you have? What stability and safety can you provide for yourself? All right. So that you can take the steps that you want to take. What is the smallest step that you can take to bring that dream practice into being now? Those of us that are the go-getters, those of us that care the most, those of us that are the high achievers, we want to transform it tomorrow, right? This is what perpetuates that burnout cycle, is that we make it so big because we care so much. I want you to break it down. What is the tiniest, most minuscule thing that you can think of that you can do today? Inspired, your intuition, your behind the scenes team. What is the tiniest thing that you can do today to bring that into being? Now, sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't, because A doesn't always go to B, doesn't always go to C. All right. A can go to S, can go to D, can go to M, can go to Q. All right. To get you to your dream practice, you've got your back. You trust this. You're going to bring this into being no matter what. You have made that choice. So you're going to take a tiny step, and then you're going to take a tiny step, and then you're going to take a tiny step. Okay. You're going to break this thing down so that you don't perpetuate that cycle. All right. Of defiant and defeated. Okay. We want to do that. We want to make it so big. We want to make such a difference today, but break it down. All right. Let these tiny things compound and add up. All right. The last thing I want you to know is that the results, especially in healthcare, will show up later. The results are going to show up later. Okay. We're scheduling often 3, 4, 6 months out. Billing takes forever, reimbursements take forever, and then for that to get onto a report, and then that to get into the meeting, and then to get to where they actually comment and acknowledge that for you, or put that in some sort of a portal for you to see, or you get the review, or you get the one-on-one to actually learn about it. These things can be months out. That's where this choice piece is so important. You know that you are taking the steps toward that thing. No matter what any report shows or not, you are taking the steps. You are taking the actions. You're going to bring that into being no matter what. No matter if it's 8 seconds from now or 8 years from now, you have committed to you, to your dreams, to your desires, and you're going to take these steps one by one by one by one and let it oh my gosh, let it combine and compound and bring that dream practice into being. This is stuff I help you do. You are not alone. This is an inherently personal journey, but there are processes and ways of asking yourself the question to bring this into being more efficiently, more quickly, with less effort, less stress. You've got this. I know you do. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. You are the ones that care, and we want you to stay in healthcare and to stay engaged. Okay? You've got this. I'll see you soon.